I think it sort of picked itself
I'm the
a
only
lot.
person that's ever been on both panels at the same time.
Well, clock's finishing.
Oh, someone's coming upstairs.
5 people are watching.
Waiting.
Yeah. Oh, the clock's finished. Right, hang on. I'm going to go live now. Welcome, everyone, to another exciting edition of 4020 Live. We're back. Phil's back from France. They've let you out. Held you hostage. Was it air traffic control this time? Or was it? Some people burning sheep.
Nobody paid the ransom.
It's not a bad place to be stuck, is it?
Well, unless you're in a hotel that's on an industrial estate, and
Did you get outside? Was there air? Could you get outside in the sunshine?
we could see the Pyrenees.
Could you get outside in the sunshine?
Yes,
Well, there we go.
but we couldn't get in the swimming pool
That's not a problem.
because we didn't have any kit.
Well, as long as
And
you
you
get
could
some
see,
sun.
you could imagine the story, couldn't you? A group of Brits found naked in swimming
I'd rather not think about that story, if I'm
No.
honest.
Remind me
So-
at the end, I need to ask you for a favour.
That sounds
That's not-
ominous after what we just
I
talked
know,
about.
it wasn't what we were talking about, it's just I needed to remind myself. Danika Priim is back in the studio. How are you, Danika? You can walk and talk at the same time. Which, in fairness, you've done that before on Channel 4 because I wrote about it last year in the magazine. And now I've got to watch Friday night back to see what you did on Friday.
Oh, no, don't.
I've got no... Seriously, my column this month, there's nothing in it.
But you were there.
I was there.
Didn't
I
you
saw
see her doing it?
Yeah, I took a picture of her, like, stalking her in the box. But
Do you know what?
It sounds
Do you know
even
what
worse.
came off Friday night? Cold. Summer rugby is over.
yeah.
And it's probably the only gantry in the whole of Super League that hasn't got a cover.
Gantry's very...
Yeah, I mean, it's an asbestos-ridden shed, isn't it?
I wouldn't go that far.
I think I would.
I don't know the new owners, so I don't want to get banned already from Bellevue.
Yeah, and I thought it was going to be a bit nippy, but I didn't anticipate how cold.
Didn't
but
rugby keep you warm and excited?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that what you're going to do next? You're going to be on Soccer Saturday next and do all that
Yeah.
stuff. You can do anything.
Do you know how many people have said that? I don't know. I don't know anything about. If anybody's out there that wants to, then of course, yes, I will be. Yes, I'm quite happy just spreading myself around all the media.
Well, I mean, I've heard people say that on social media before.
Do you know what? Somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to do it.
I don't know if you've seen the video I made of Wembley this year. You probably haven't watched it because you're a very busy person. But there's a bit where we're up in the press box and I zoom in on you and
Wearing
Kelsey
green.
and Tanya.
Was it green turquoise?
And I said, oh, it's Danika there. She's taking a selfie, which you weren't taking a selfie. Someone else was taking a photo of you. And I cut out the bit of me saying we made her because I thought people would take it the wrong way. I know you wouldn't mind, but I thought...
A couple of people say that, you know. So somebody's got to own it sometime soon, haven't they?
We take no responsibility for anything.
No, you can take
We
responsibility.
can just spot talent.
Yeah.
This is where I'm back to my roots here.
So we were talking before we came on about whether you do strictly your I'm a Celebrity, but what about like MasterChef, Celebrity Mastermind?
Right, I'd love to do MasterChef, but I wouldn't. I think I'm a good chef. I think I'm a good cook.
Right,
I know.
yeah. What's your speciality?
Oh, it's
Signature dish.
Yeah,
it totally depends. It totally depends. I make probably one of the best fish tacos
Right.
you'll ever taste.
Right.
I like to
I'd like
make.
to taste it.
Well, absolutely not a problem. You tell me. I kind of like to use a bit of sea bass normally. I like to make my own chipotle slaw with it.
So this is already MasterChef ready.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Do you
You'll be
know
using
what?
the word tweel in a minute.
The one bonus about having a little bit more exposure is I get asked to go to places in Leeds for free food all the time.
Do you take Sophie?
Right, so I've tried every single time it's been on a Thursday. And obviously Sophie trains on a Tuesday and Thursday, but I've asked her every single time. And then there was one, we went to 6 by Nico, which is a 6-course tasting menu. Oh, it's divine. And it was just too posh for Sophie. So she has been up there.
With her food blog.
I do owe her a meal out for getting that golden point try, but let's hope I can use one of my PR trip. Thank you.
Yes,
That's what I like to call
I
them.
mean, it is hilarious to see everyone who's gone off to massive success and freebies and I mean I get a free magazine off Phil every month, so that's
Only because you're right.
well, yeah, right. No, but it's nice to see you going on to mega success and free food everything else. I'm trying, mastermind then, what would be your specialist mastermind subjects?
Ooh,
Last time you were on the
obviously Rugby League. Not. Harry Potter.
Yeah. You've been to the studio?
3 times.
Yeah.
I'm doing a Harry Potter quiz tomorrow night at my local pub.
I can't think of all the other TV programs you could be on, but there's so many celebrity versions of like The Chase and Pointless and stuff.
Yeah, I love a quiz.
Yeah.
I absolutely love a quiz. Like, I love a game and I love a quiz.
I mean, I've got a great dissertation you could read about the history and semiotics behind game shows if you really wanted to.
Oh,
like,
you know, if I break an ankle and I'm stuck inside for a few days, absolutely. That is no disrespect to your. I can't barely read a book.
Beautifully put.
I've got a couple of them, but I don't read.
You've got proper degrees.
I don't read anymore.
I want to start with we should start with the Dream Team because it's out and I love it because people get obsessed about it. And I'm like, I don't particularly care. So, I mean, obviously now I don't care about Super League. It's all about the Championship for me. Super League is rubbish. I'm subscribing to Via Players League.
Spat his toy. He's done me out there. His toys are out the pram.
Water bottle. But everyone gets upset about it. How did the Dream? Do you have to pick your 13? Because we don't know how it works.
So throughout the season, we nominate for the Man of Steel. So every person gets a game, and obviously that's all points.
Yeah.
So everybody gets points throughout the season. Then obviously it's an accumulation of who's got the points. And then for your Dream Team, you get sent a form, and then you get sent the people that in those positions. So maybe like the top 4 or 5 in each position.
Okay.
And then it's purely down to my choice,
yeah.
My opinion. But I had 10 of the 13. Woohoo.
I think a lot of them did pick themselves this year, which is no disrespect to anybody who was on the judging panel. But there wasn't a huge amount of dispute. There were odd ones, but 10 of the 13 probably is about right.
Oh, yeah, I had Field as my fullback.
Wellsby's been sensational.
I had Field as my fullback.
I'm saying it's not giving you a free hat or something. You pick all Leigh players because you got a hat.
I really do like Leigh, but it's not the reason I picked them all.
Do you want to ride one of those Lamborghinis?
Field's Wigan anyway.
Why not? So I said, did you upset Saints as well?
I've not upset Saints. Saints have not upset me. I just prefer Field as a fullback. I think he's better. That's my personal opinion. So if you want to come at me in the comments, go for it.
But that's what it's all about, isn't it?
No, because our viewers and listeners, they're a discerning. They don't care about the Dream Team either. This thing is just, it's a bit of fluff, isn't it? It's nice.
Well, I felt really
nice.
I felt really nice to be on the panel.
Well, no, I'm not saying.
I'm getting to go to the awards ceremony the 10th of October, so
we don't know if we're allowed.
I don't know if you're allowed.
Yeah, I mean, I got invited to the women's awards last year because I think they felt pity on me. But that was.
It's all as one now, isn't it? It's all as one this year.
Yeah. Apart from the wheelchair, which is separate. We could probably get you an invite tonight if you want.
Oh yeah, I love that game.
Yeah.
Are you going on Saturday?
I'm busy on Saturday. It's playoffs.
Channel 4,
yeah, but this is in the evening.
6:45 kickoff.
6:45, Leeds Halifax.
Free,
at the edge.
Free meal.
To be fair, do you know what? Yeah, I could do.
There you go. You see.
Be a great game.
It will be. Well, Leeds need to step up after yesterday, don't they?
Yes.
Well, they do.
But I think they knew they didn't need to lose yesterday and wanted to keep a little bit of their power.
4 League Leader Shields in a row. Well, where was the League Leader Shield though? That's the big question. Phil Roberts, Wigan legend, saying, a bit disrespectful. Wigan men got theirs on
do you feel
Friday
like they've still had the momentum from the World Cup, or do you think it's kind of
I think the fact that they've now announced that the international against France is at the First Direct Arena,
how great
it's
is that
gone back
be?
up again. I think once you get to see the grand final, I thought the Challenge Cup final was great.
Yeah,
the grand final will be good no matter who is in it.
That.
The international will be fantastic. So I think it's still got all its momentum. And the French apparently want England to go out and play over there in a second international.
I don't think people realise how lucky we are as a sport that our broadcast partners get behind pretty much every facet of the sport. And you look at Channel 4's documentaries as well about PDRL, which you can add into that as well.
And the wheelchair one coming up.
I mean, the RFU... what a bunch of idiots they are. They scheduled England's women to play an international in the middle of the Men's World Cup and then wondered why no broadcaster picked it up. Well, ITV, they're a bit busy at the minute. I don't know. You've seen some of the rugby going on. I don't know what it is.
It's great. It's great.
Kick her out.
That is a tough one for that side of the sport, but yeah, we are very lucky. But the women's in the rugby union gets very well supported as well. But it's just, I do think there's been a moment this year where I'm like, don't lose sight of what the Wheelchair World Cup brought us, because I think there's been a couple of times I'm like, just doing a little bit better. But
well, I think this is where, and we've said it before. It's great that the sportsmen have been putting games on here and there, but why we've got a game on every round, or when we've had the match, I know it's been difficult because it's
like the women's game. There are direct parallels that there aren't enough teams of equal standing so that you could have a game every week and guarantee that it would be watchable.
But then when there are games on that are watchable, they're not covered. So it's kind of like, and I love what Sky are doing, and they're doing the double headers and everything, because I get Sky has to do. Well, it's more profitable, like for Sky to do it as a double header, because of the cost. The simple cost to set up the cameras is ridiculous, and I think that's what people don't. I never realised that until I worked in obviously TV. Like the actual cost of just setting up something for the day.
Just turn up with your phone.
Yeah, and the amount of time that goes into that, and then just the cost per day. So to do a double header is great, but it's hard, isn't it? Because they don't pick them in the men's for the season. They see where things are going and see what diets, But equally, if you did that with the women would be adaptable to change. But there are some. So the Saints Leeds won the other week.
Yeah.
When Leeds came back, didn't have Amy Hardcastle or Caitlin Beavers playing, beat St Helens again at Totally Wicked.
You did mention that, I think.
Yeah.
They've never been beaten there.
Never been beaten there.
Maybe Leeds shouldn't just move there. I mean, Headingley's great and everything, but just play all your games there.
No.
All their games. It's a good stadium.
No, I quite like the fact that again, that's another thing that'll get broken soon, but for now, keep beating Saints there, so it works.
I've got a vote, right? I know you're obviously on the Steve Prescott Man of Steel Award and the Woman of Steel, which I haven't named after anyone yet because I don't know why we haven't. This is one of the other bugbears we've got on this programme, as you know. But because I'm a member of the Rugby League Writers and Broadcasters Association, because I've paid, I get to vote.
That whole tenner.
Yeah, I get to vote on who the Player of the Year is. And I don't really know who to go for, because I watch a lot of games on telly. I haven't watched a lot of games in person this year for many and various reasons. But how do you choose the Player of the Year? Do you choose who is the best player, and how do you work out who is the best? Obviously, you've got a complicated scoring system in the Steve Prescott Man of Steel thing, and for the women, you just pick some players at random, I guess. But
just pick some players at random.
I didn't mean at random.
Look at that.
I didn't mean that. But how who do I pick? Who do I vote for? I asked the audience, and Andy tweeted and said Caitlin Beavers. But if I vote for Caitlin Beavers, I'm going to be the only person to vote for her, because everyone else is going to vote for a man. Which, granted, I think there's about 5 people who are going to vote on this award, so she might get 20% of the vote. But
I think sometimes just having that vote, and and if people see that a woman has been voted for, then it changes perception, isn't it? If people say that the Player of the Year, they automatically will go to the men's game, then all it takes is somebody to change that.
Do you mean I could be an agent for change?
Yeah. Is that what they call them now?
I have no idea. Oh, you want provocateur? By saying Caitlin Beavers, she's got that try at Wembley, so she got my vote. It's either her or Tom Johnson, so anyway.
No, I picked Caitlin over Tom.
Yeah, but he used to play for
Wakefield. Yeah, but he didn't binge you off. He went to live in
some Wakefield fans are really upset about that.
And fulfilled his potential.
Yeah,
and then went to live in hotter climes. I don't blame him.
Wakefield, Perpignan. I mean, I've never been to Perpignan. You've been to, and you've lived there for 2 days.
Longer than I'd quite like to have been there, yes.
But, so, well, maybe I'll vote for Caitlin then, even though she's not on the Woman of Steel shortlist.
No, that's it gets put up for debate, does that shortlist? So it took a while to get to where we got to.
I'd have voted for Shona Hoyle.
Shona's up there,
but my opinion is worthless, so it doesn't matter.
Not to some.
That's very kind of you to say that. The semi-finals on Saturday. We may as well start with them. York and Wigan.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as I tweeted, Wigan seemed to have something over York. York eased in front, but they do seem to have something about that. I don't know. Do York underestimate them? Are Wigan better than?
Wigan have been so much better this season. Like Wigan have put it to Leeds a couple of times. Semi-final of the Challenge Cup, and then just a couple of weeks ago, it was a really tight game. Wigan have been progressing and developing. They were hit by some injuries. They're not quite there yet, but they are building a really good squad. And I think on Saturday they played well. And they went out, and we'd heard from their camp that they were going out. They didn't care whether they couldn't field 13 for the final if they were made it, but they wanted to go out and give it their all, which I think in parts they really did. And I was expecting from the 60-minute mark to it to be a complete runaway, and it still wasn't. And for Wigan to put in an 80-minute performance but maintain it, no, it might not have been perfect, it might not have been a grand final standard, but for them to put up a consistent 80-minute performance, and I think
I never to mix it up as well. I quite like their tactics.
Yeah, and you know what? They were throwing the ball around more. Like they put Rachel Thompson in at 13, which gave them three sets of hands across the field. Their receiving off a fast ball was just a little bit slow, so they were practically receiving stood still. So just changing that would speed it up. But people were saying, "Oh, you didn't fancy York." Like York didn't play that great, and I think they'll be the first people to say that. I was with Kelsey as well, who was like, not the best performance, but Wigan put it to him. So yes, I think York would get through 100%. I thought it'd be a bigger score than that, but I thought it was a good, I think it was great for Wigan, so well done to them. Maybe
lots of exciting young players coming through, and a couple. I don't say old head sounds.
Anna Davies,
yeah,
fantastic. Every time she touched the ball, she caused indecision in the...
Now, is she the one that was from Sale Sharks? Or Sarries?
She's the one that's just been brought into the England performance.
And I think is a rugby union player.
But I thought, if they'd have got her away a little bit more often, she caused trouble. And
Holly Speakman was putting in some shots.
She was. Grace Banks.
Great.
Well, here's Tony on Grace Banks. I think Tony, I met you on Friday, didn't I think. I met someone called Tony.
Obviously, made a lasting impression.
Wait, if someone called Tony in the bar after the game, so we were waxy and lyrical about everything that isn't the men at Wakefield Trinity. Great interception, and she has asthma. Great game. I've got asthma. I can't intercept. I've also got a child's inhaler because I can't use an adult's one. She's exciting to watch.
Grace Banks was brilliant, and a shame she went off with that HIA towards the end. Really young, fantastic coming. Do you know what the thing is about the 4 teams that are in the semi-finals? I've got 4 strong academies coming through. So we talk about the game, and people saying they need to reserve these under-19s. Listen, there's not enough women in the game as it is. So to have 4 teams with strong academies, and that's where a lot of Wigan's talent is coming through. So fingers crossed she develops more and she gets picked up.
Apologies, Tony, it was a different Tony. He was at Leigh. He would love to meet me though. That's a bit worrying.
Oh, that's lovely. That's nice.
And he wasn't Squidris Elbow, who's also not called Tony. But Wigan, York, Leeds and Saints. I mean, the exciting thing about all this young talent is, and I know this is, I'm jumping around, but the NRLW, which is the biggest women's rugby league rugby competition in the world. Forget the World League; it's the biggest rugby competition in the world for women. And we've got a Leeds matchup in the grand final because Georgia Roach, Leeds, Georgia Hale, Leeds, in the grand final. She was at Leeds. She was there at Leeds
for 4 games.
Hey, I count Brad Singleton as a former Wakefield player. He was only there once.
Yeah, I think Georgia Hale's stint in Leeds was purposefully short.
Player of the match in the semi-final.
Yeah, she's gone great. I think she's gone great since she's been back out there, and I think Georgia Roach has been phenomenal. Like, it's one of those things that we knew she was a great player, but to go out there and step up and play,
to be given a 5-year contract, that is big responsibility in a competition where they don't normally give 5-year contracts.
With a significant figure, and to be playing with the likes of Tamika Upton outside, what a combination. And if Tamika Upton doesn't get the Dally M, then I'll be surprised, in my opinion.
Could we get you on Australian telly?
Do you know what, right? When we do all these internationals, Danica Mason is one of the pitch reporters and presenters out there. Danica Squared sounds great.
It does.
But I think when we do those internationals and we bring the Ashes and the women get to part of that, so they need some kind of who is more of a TV ho than me. Nobody. I don't
So
have
you're
to say
making your
that.
pitch for 2025 already?
Yeah.
26. 26?
No, 25. The
The
Ashes
Ashes.
tour.
Yeah, 25.
I think you might as well go for the World Cup as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I might as well just go out there, aren't I?
Yeah.
I think I know the game pretty well. I know the English girls pretty well. I know the Canadians. You know.
Playing
Well, I'm saying when do they play?
9 tonight.
Half past
Yeah.
9. Oh, we'll be back home in time for that then.
Shani Corral.
Yeah.
Was that a strange decision that she would choose Canada over St Helens? Did she ring up and go, right, I'm back for the grand final? They went, no rush,
I
we're not in it.
think that there is a larger issue that I don't think she'll play for England again,
Well,
No, that's why she wants to
which
play.
is not her choice, from what I can understand. She was, in 2017, she was going to go play for Canada, and then 10 days before we flew, got pulled into the England squad. So she was already...
Born in Canada, it must
Yeah.
be said.
Mm.
Toronto born.
Yeah, so she's not just... It's not
It's not
just
heritage.
Not
heritage.
pretend, no.
She's, yeah. And they're good, like... I don't know them, obviously, but getting to know them and spending some time with the Canadians in 2017... They were there for a good time, not a long time. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's Shani's perfect kind of group at the minute. But have developed loads and will continue to. We saw Jamaica get significantly pumped by the USA.
In their first ever game, though, Jamaica.
Yeah, they
So-
played some... Yeah, it was fair. Sophie Robinson decided not to go out because she wanted to play the semi-final.
Well, that was good, wasn't it? Because
I mean, yeah.
What happened?
Thank goodness, Sophie Robinson.
it reminded me, or I was thinking on the way in, of the Challenge Cup semi-final, which you must have played in because we spoke about it during lockdown when Faye Gaskin didn't play for Saints because she was at a wedding.
Yes.
And Leeds won.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, 2019 or 20...
whatever.
Was that a surprise, Leeds winning at St Helens?
Not for
in
me.
the semi-final?
Not for me. Genuinely, right.
No, seriously.
No, genuinely, I am the most nervous person when it comes, and I'm always kind of like, I hope they'll get it. Like, Saints is going to do them over, they're going to do them over. Not because I don't believe in the girls, but because I just... When it, I was there when the hurt of Wembley, and I had to... The first person I kind of scooped up was Caitlin, and I didn't think that... I think that was kind of hanging over their heads, and then the expectation that Amy and Caitlin were back, and that the expectation that they would win having them back. But I think sometimes people write out but the game was at half time. I was really, really calm, as if it's got anything to do with me. And I was really, really confident, weirdly. And then when Saints went for that penalty, I just walked around and I said to Jenna and John, I was like, she's not going to get it. And they both went harsh, and I didn't even look.
No.
And I was deadly
even Matty
confident.
Smith knew she wasn't going to get it.
Well, I was deadly confident. And it came to Golden Point, and I was like, as long as we can keep the ball at that end and keep Faye away from the 40 out.
That's
Faye
the problem.
Gaskin-
That's the
yeah.
problem. When we're talking about drop goals on the telly, if Saints had got a chance, because we saw in the Challenge Cup semi-final, Faye Gaskin can nail them. So that's obviously a concern.
And I
But-
played with Faye quite a few times, but I knew keeping them away from, keeping them deep in that end, we'd break them because we had done it. We were the only one, Leeds, I say we, we're not allowed to say that anymore, and that kid kept getting told off on the TV for saying we. Because it's not we anymore, is it? It's them.
Yeah, but you support
No.
them, don't you? That's
Yeah.
I have to catch myself when I talk about Wakefield half the time.
Yeah, well, same. You know how it is. It's difficult, isn't it? But the girl, I knew
We're
the
going to win
girls.
at Wembley. No.
The girls were playing more free flowing rugby. They got their points from more free flowing rugby. So
Yes.
Caitlin Casey's kick was going to come off again at some point. So I was weirdly confident.
Mentioning Wembley, and you've obviously said, and it doesn't take a psychologist to work out, they would have hit Leeds hard that they went there. First time ever, didn't win. But on the flip side, and this is now 2 seasons in a row, Saints have won the Challenge Cup and not gone on to the Grand Final. Now, obviously last year was different at Ellen Road, but this year at Wembley, could you make an argument that psychologically that had an effect on them, that they'd done something that no one's ever going to do before as the first? That have knocked them slightly in terms of, I know they obviously wanted to go on and win everything, but that was a major goal achieved. And can you get yourself back up again to go again in a semi-final?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that it quite works like that because St Helens, particularly with the calibre of players they've got, and not. Yes, they did celebrate, and they've now got that, and nobody else is gonna, and they've made pin badges of the of the girls and all of this, so that the hype around it is a lot more. But I don't. Yeah, there's always a hangover, much like there is in the men's game. But you can't let it last this long, can you?
Caitlin Casey.
She's quite good, isn't she?
It's not bad, is she?
Next Georgia Roach. Reckon that if she maintains her level of development at the moment, that the NRLW will come calling?
I would hope so, yeah.
Because she was very, very calm in those closing stages, or appeared to be very, very calm.
Externally very calm. I think it's taken her a little bit of a while to get to that stage, and you know, she came up
this time last year. She
came this time last year. She was in the final for Alton Raidettes. But you think she's come in and everyone talks about that, you filled some big boots. She hasn't filled some big boots. She's filled 2 pairs of boots. Do you know what I mean? She is the only wrist starting half that Leeds really, like consistent half that Leeds have. To then have the kicks that she does, and so then she's got a great side, hasn't she, with Caitlin Beavers and Sophie Robinson.
And how important is having Hannah Butcher playing in the halves with her? Because if you're going to have the Ice Queen, she might as well be next to the youngest player.
But I think Leeds were just struggling to find a half. So you've got Sam Hume, who's really great at attack. You had Jenna Greening, who was great in defence.
Who played really well in the second row.
Who then played really well, yes, which I think is more her preferred position. Well, I think I prefer her playing in the second row anyway. So you needed somebody just to step up and not be afraid to do both, and Hannah Butcher isn't afraid to do anything. She's an actual hero of my life.
She even likes talking to us now.
Anywhere near her on a rugby field. Whatever position she's playing
care.
Don't go near her.
Do you know what she also likes? A crate of bud.
I'm not surprised.
Do you reckon we're the only people she likes? I like to think we are.
She's the nicest person off the field. I don't think she dislikes anybody. And if she did dislike you probably wouldn't know, because she can tolerate anybody. She's great. She's probably one of my all-time favourite people.
I need some lessons in tolerance.
Me too.
So you're going for York in the final?
No.
I heard you on the telly. You said I'm going for York.
I think it's about time that York break there.
And they're at home. Does that give more pressure?
I think that's more pressure.
We were talking about, the playoffs now, and all of the we're reaching the business end, as we're obliged to call it.
More.
And even teams like Featherstone are going to feel pressure that they've not felt before, because they've got one game at home where everybody turns up and goes, right, you're going to win then. And it doesn't work like that sometimes.
Well, I've been to York probably more times than I've been to Headingley this season. And the fans up there and the support network and what they're doing as a club. Like, I need to, from whatever I've thought about things before in the past, what they're doing up there and having seen it all and having seen the people work behind the scenes is great. And we need to kind of put that in a jar and then send it out. This is a real good idea of how things can be done, particularly in the women's game. And I think...
And wheelchair. I think they've come on leaps and bounds in that.
Well, all aspect, to be fair, any aspect of the game.
Well, I mean, we're not on the men's teams yet, but the fact that York have made the playoffs from where they were, because not only do they have all of their injured players back, which does help.
Oh, massively.
But they've got people there who... are in charge. Lindsay Anfield.
Well, Hendo had a bit of a scratchy start, didn't he?
They are the kind of people that can see longer term. They're not just pushed by an owner that says we're winning this week and that's it.
But I think I've seen Lindsay Anfield sat with Hendo during the men's games a couple of times. So I'm not saying. I said the other day. I've said on TV the other day that it's maturity, because it's not the maturity as such. But everyone, if you've watched the women's game for as long as you guys have, and we've been in it. Watching Lindsay on the side as a coach, she's much calmer now.
Yeah.
Like, she's much more poker faced. She's much more. Her post-match interviews are so much better. She is a better coach, and I think the girls are. They do work really hard, whether you like them or not. They work hard. They are athletes. Well, this don't mean like
they've got some of the most talented players that.
But then it's not just that, they're athletes and they work hard behind the scenes, and they have like Monday night training and Friday night training. They have awkward times, and I think they do need to break their cycle, because like Lindsay and a few of the girls that have come from the Castleford days, always the bridesmaid, never the bride. And I'm not saying I want them to win necessarily. I'd love Leeds to win. I'm Leeds through and through. However, that cycle needs breaking, and is it this year that it gets broken?
Well, I think the other interesting thing is they've got some strike players off the bench as well who
Yeah,
can
huge.
turn games.
Reed Marshall made a massive difference the other day.
As
didn't
soon as
so-
she came on, it looked completely different.
Yeah, totally.
Almost my favourite player these days.
Almost.
Almost.
Well, yeah, because, you know...
Almost
I've had
our
to choose a new
favourite,
one.
and here he is.
Oh, hi.
Oh, yeah. I've been replaced.
Well,
Although I think I replaced Danika, didn't I? So.
We have a broad church, a great cross section of
Basically,
opinion.
they're using us both now.
oh, it's a bit harsh, isn't it? It's a bit harsh. Who would... So, if you don't run at Hannah Butcher, do you, right? So, if you put Hannah Butcher here, here's Hannah Butcher, they're York over there, that's Jasmine Bell. What happens then?
Hannah goes low.
It's the irresistible force meets the immovable object. As Graham Monsoon
Yeah, but it's the power versus Newton's first law. An object remains stationary in a linear line of motion until acted upon by an external force.
No wonder the one you're in rugby union. That's far too intelligent.
My first degree in sports science and medicine. Have I ever used it since then? No, but here I am.
How was your rugby weekend?
It was good, largely absent of rugby.
Well, it's been lovely seeing
I
you.
caught snippets. I watched the second half of the women's game. I thought it was good.
Yeah.
It was a good, decent contest. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just nice to have a proper contest, isn't it? I think that's the difference. It's just nice. And to have it so tight and a bit tense.
Yeah.
Just adds to it.
Drama. That's what people like.
On the rugby field, maybe.
Oh, I don't know, we like the drama off it as well, but you can't really talk about it on podcasts. So, and I don't get told about any drama anymore because you don't play, so... Don't tell me
I don't
anything.
know any drama, never told you anything.
Oh, no, sorry. Sources close to the programme have told me drama in the past. Mind you, speaking of sources close to the programme, now I was told on Saturday, because it was hilarious when they introduced you on the telly, former Leeds and England forward, whatever, says Jenna, and rugby league pundit John Wilkin. Now, they made a big thing about him doing the pitch. Now, I was told by a source close to this programme that John Wilkin only did about 2 forks of the pitch and then buggered off and did some telly. So
He was on there for a good 10 minutes. Whether he was talking or forking, I don't know. I got some video evidence of it myself, but he was... Everybody was out there. Matty Smith was out there.
Reminiscent of Michael Carter clearing the snow at Bellevue that time.
So they played on Friday night. Was the pitch all right Friday night when they played?
All I
In
know
the
is
men's
that they finished rigging at 1 a.m. and then they heard at 1 a.m. that something had happened. I don't know what had happened, but by the time everyone got there in the morning, it was a little bit waterlogged. It stunk.
And you'd been at Bellevue
So I
the night
think-
before, so... you know.
So I think it was something to do with the drainage underneath had collapsed or something. So it wasn't dirty water; it was just stagnant water.
That just reminds me of when Dewsbury built their new ground back in 1994. The first game they played Barrow, it was like a bowling green, and by week 2 it had puddles all over it, and by week 3 it was a quagmire. And players used to have jabs in order to play on it. So it
Stop.
stunk. It absolutely stunk.
You had a jab to play on it?
Yeah.
No, I'm tapping out. I'm out. I'm tapping out.
So it sounds like, and that was a drainage problem because all the construction vehicles had broken all the drains underneath. So it sounds like that's probably.
Well, I think there was meant to be a rugby, the Army final,
Yes,
and they got
yes.
moved to Sato Heath.
Yes.
But even just getting from the dugouts across onto the field was just. So the girls obviously went out and went to walk in it. I was like, girls, don't take your white trainers out there. I'd put your boots on to walk out just to see. And the sand in the middle, we were like, this is not ideal. But the game got played and it didn't seem to make too much of a difference, did it? Apart from when Caitlin Beavers managed to do that tap tackle and she just slid into touch, which was beautiful. Maybe that was the reason why.
Game-breaking moment.
Yeah, massively.
So will the pitch be all right for Saturday when you'll
I mean,
be back?
in my groundswoman capacity, no idea. I hope so. I hope between. What do you do to get that fixed?
I don't
apart
know.
from pull the pitch up.
But what do you do to St Helens if they can't play the game that they've earned the right to play at
Oh,
home?
I'm sure that's your job to answer that one.
No.
What do you do if you can't
They'd
decide
have to
the
find a
pitch is?
different venue, wouldn't they?
Oh, yeah.
It's witness free. Or Warrington. It's always witness, isn't it? If anyone's in trouble, say it's Wigan, we can't play. We'll go.
Well, let's be fair. It's early enough in the day. Well, maybe that's the problem because it could be quite an early kick-off, isn't it, on Saturday? 1 o'clock.
12:45.
Is it 12:45?
Well, that's what it says in the paper. I mean, that's
12:45. Channel 4.
Yeah, Channel 4 both of them.
Or Sky. But we all know where we'll be watching.
I know where I'll be.
Well, we know who will be watching.
Adam will be back.
Is he back?
He's back from playing tennis. in Australia?
Oh, I think I saw him. Yeah, I mean, I've written a whole column about him this month, so do pass him on a magazine. I think I'm fairly nice about him. I think.
Oh, why don't you sign it and then I'll give it to him on Saturday?
Devalue the magazine.
I will pass it on. No, he'll
devalue the worthless.
He'll love that.
We interviewed him once when Leeds played Warrington at Headingley.
He's
I mean, Phil did the commentary on it, and he got taken off. Did he do his shoulder or something? I can't remember. Was it concussion?
Yeah, he got completely wiped out, didn't he?
Yeah, Mark played in that as well. It's amazing how these things, all these strands, come back together later on.
Scully played.
He did.
Did he?
Yeah. How many tries has Ryan Hall scored now in his career?
200 and...
That's 317.
Oh. 317?
Yeah. In his career as a whole, not just in Super League.
Oh,
because there is more to Rugby League to Rugby League than just Super League.
All right, Championship, calm down.
Golf people.
Told you he's doing on the floor.
I don't care. He's done.
I don't care. How many times has he
what am I supposed
mentioned
to do about it? I can't do anything about it. We've got new owners now. We're going to be buying everyone.
New
Matty
coach.
Johns, John Alomu, they're all coming in.
John Alomu, that's going to be a...
Well, we've got as much chance of signing him now as we did in the year 2000, so, you know.
Respect. Or disrespect.
Oliver Gildart is a bit of a perk, isn't he?
No, I was thinking more...
What?
You've got new owners...
Oh, we're coming on to that, yeah.
Who put out a statement basically saying that there is a new coach in
By
place.
Mark, yeah, thanks for that. You weren't very good.
Before the previous coach has been officially informed.
Well, that's why I asked him on Friday night.
Isn't that disrespectful?
Because it's all in the papers, wasn't it, that Darryl Powell's coming in. But I don't know he's coming in, because no one's told me he's coming in. Only the papers are saying. So I say to Mark Applegarth on Friday, what are you doing next? And he says, I'm the head coach until I'm not the head coach. Which is the right answer.
Well, it's been...
And then a letter goes out the following morning to members saying, I've appointed Darryl Powell. Like, Jermaine McGilvery. Is that not disrespectful?
Oh, Jermaine McGilvery thing's disgusting.
What has happened to respect in Rugby League?
If that's the true story, that he got a phone call a couple of hours before it went live, and after so much service, maybe he's not as great as he used to be, that's absolutely fine, but surely that's a conversation.
It's going to be great in the red, white and blue next year, according to the papers.
You think? Yeah, I got the impression they must have had a conversation before then, just because of the signalling that was coming from Jermaine. It sounded like he kind of knew he was on his way out.
I think you know from the 1st of May whether you've been offered a contract or not. But I think isn't there the respect of somebody who's been there for 16 years who represents the whole club. At least deserves a sit down, and it has come to the time where.
But I don't even think you need to be there 16 years and to be a great
citizen. No.
You could be there one season, couldn't you?
You know, I think if you're not going to be retained, then you should be told.
But I think that's the thing, isn't it? People expect in Rugby League, because you get a contract, that you deserve to, you should be respectful and grateful for that. But actually, the effort you put in for that contract, the training, and I never call them sacrifices, because you make choices not to do things. But the choices, you miss family weddings and you miss christenings and birthdays, and you're allowed to go on holiday between this month and this month. But so it is, you also, yes, you do get a contract, you get to play for a club, but you also commit quite a lot to that club too. So yeah.
You can't just take holiday during the season, can you? So I've got me 14 days start,
I don't want to, keep going on about the fact that Wakefield now officially are a championship club.
Yeah.
But I think
taking down the signs and everything.
It's absolutely fine.
We are not a Super League city. It says now when you go in.
I just think Mark Applegarth has behaved with incredible dignity. I mean, it's like you're playing a hand of poker, and you sat round the table with 11 other people, and you look at your hand and you've got a 2 or 3 and an 8, and you're supposed to blag your way to, not be the last person standing.
I can't think.
So he hasn't been given the tools to do the job. No. But I honestly think that every time I've heard him speak, every time we've been in his presence, he's been incredibly dignified. He's never looked to blame anybody else. He's talked about trying to be better. And I just think, when somebody behaves with that level of dignity in his first job, the very least he deserves is to go into his last press conference knowing whether he still is in a position or not, rather than receive a letter to fans the following morning saying we've appointed somebody else. I just think that's wrong.
I can't think of a time this year where he hasn't done the pre-match press conference. Especially on a run of losing, was it 14 in a row?
He never hid.
No.
He never made excuses. He never blamed a match official, as far as I can remember.
No, I don't think it.
Hard to do it when you're losing 30-0 and stuff.
No, but
they still do.
There are people who do. apparently the whole of the season was skewed on one decision in the league game this week, according to some people.
Whether he was good enough or not is irrelevant, because it doesn't matter, because some coaches are very going to get sacked anyway.
He didn't appoint himself.
And
he was appointed by that board, who made a conscious decision that they would go down the route of building for the future. The fact that that board is no longer there and somebody new is coming in and wants to make a statement, it's almost like it's been made at his expense, and he may well be employed, because they're talking about they want to do a big youth development and academy restructure. He may be the man to do that, and he may still be at Wakefield. So we're not saying that he's been totally dispensed with. I just thought it was a bit, I don't know, disrespectful to put him up there while you're interviewing him for Sky, in the knowledge that he's not going to be there the following morning. It's maybe.
Well, it's not a great start for a new owner, is it?
I don't.
In my opinion,
I know you're trying to curry favour with the supporters, but do things the right way.
But I've seen the favour curried before, and I've seen what happens. So I'm keeping my powder dry until things.
I think, and again, not wanting to go on any more about Wakefield that needs to be gone on about, because shouldn't
people want to talk about
Wigan. Your own
right?
private morning. The thing is, the takeover hasn't been completed yet. There's 2 more weeks to go. That's the time to announce Darryl Powell, I would have said. But
just all a bit. I've seen too many new eras that haven't quite gone well.
Has Wakefield hurt you in the past?
They sacked me. No,
Thinking about that.
I can't say it was sacked.
Still turns up though, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Still can't get rid of him.
Their judgment's not all that bad.
No. Michael Counter's worst decision was employing me. I'm very happy to go on record as saying that was a bad appointment all round from his perspective and from my perspective. It did not work and was never going to work. But ground sorted, stands being built. If only we hadn't signed Kevin Proctor and saved that money to sign Luke Gale at the start of the season. But that's hindsight, isn't it?
Do you think that would have made the difference?
It would have made a difference. I mean, he wasn't fully fit when he came in, was he, from Keighley? And
you're not allowed to mention Keighley.
No. And I assume he was happy to have that part-time role and do his other stuff off the field, which he probably could still do now at Wakefield if he wants to stay in the future. But would Wakefield have been better with Luke Gale at the start of the season rather than Kevin Proctor? Yeah. But they weren't, so they didn't.
Oh, well.
Yeah. I mean, you were there, you saw the game, it was...
How good
turn up, did they? So.
How good was Mikey Lewis? For those of us that weren't there, all that kept coming back was he's completely unplayable.
He was great. He made lots of breaks. They probably could have been a couple of tries ahead had he given the ball sooner. There was an element where I said that if this continues, some of the younger lads are going to get white line fever, which is what... There's a couple of times that Mikey definitely could have passed it, probably a few metres earlier. And to be fair, he did it. He managed to pull it off and he got the points on the board. But he is outstanding. He's just like one of those little kids, and I mean this in the most respectful of ways. You just can't catch someone that just runs around you. You just can't catch it, and it's really annoying. And you want to swat it, or a bit like a fly. But in the nicest...
Like the fly, Lou.
No, but if I was playing against him, it's a bit like playing against Tara Jane Stanley. I know she does a left foot step every time, but can I stop it? Never. It's one of those people that you know what he's going to do. And between him and Jack Walker, if that combination
Jack Walker,
will really, if they really get something together, that's going to be a nightmare pairing. Because, and I mean this, and I think we need more of this in the game. They've got a bit of an ego, and and I want more of it in the game. He knows he can do some stuff. He knows he can make a difference in the game. He loves the limelight. He loves the try line. And between him and Jack Walker, who was very similar, they're not afraid to go forward and try something. And out of hand, he was chipping the ball over and backed himself to catch it again. So he is great. And I want people to celebrate themselves like he does.
We need characters.
Yeah, 100%.
We need personalities. We need people like him. And he was taking selfies for God knows how long after the game with all the Hull KR fans.
The Hull KR fans were incredible. Absolutely incredible. Sold out every single... I think it was 2,000 odd tickets that they sold out. Were in fine voice the whole time.
We didn't announce a crowd, so... Just as a tribute to Hull KR, we didn't announce a crowd.
Willie Peters told me that's how many tickets they had. So.
It must be true then.
And my favourite thing is when Wakefield did look like this, they were coming back, they were like... They were just chanting, "You're going down, you're..." I was like, oh, good comeback there, Hull KR, good comeback. But I think the fans were race, and the fact that the players stayed and the fans stayed to the very last minute, which was quite a cold Friday night, wasn't it?
Do you know what really annoyed me?
Twice now.
Yeah.
I'm a soft summer rugby player. I've got no shame.
Yeah, you are with your telly and stuff. You haven't done football at Frickley in the middle of winter.
I played rugby union, thank you very much.
Yeah, but I'm not broadcasting.
I played when a game got cancelled at 60 minutes because we couldn't physically catch a ball anymore.
That's just rugby union, isn't it?
No.
Seen the basic skills.
Just because you're not intelligent enough to understand it.
I agree. What really? I tell you what annoyed me. This is the stupidest thing. After the game was twice they said, "Don't run on the pitch after the game. Don't come on the pitch." And some kids run on the pitch, but kids are kids.
By the way, there were 5 other games going on that day, but we'll just talk about this one.
Kids, yeah, we're going to move on. Kids are kids. But then one of the volunteers from one of the community clubs was encouraging the kids to go up and get selfies and taking pictures when they've been told not to go on the pitch. Should be banned.
I was too busy interviewing Willie Peters.
Are they going to beat Leigh on Friday? Because Leigh have got no players. Tony says Leigh need to get a reserve game for midweek. Because Wigan have got one, so Bevan French can play. But
does that seem like an anomaly to you? We're going to have 3 players banned, but because it's the reserve grand final, which they wouldn't have played in, they can work off that.
Do they even qualify for the reserve grand final? Because they haven't played enough.
It's not right, is it? There obviously must be a loophole in the rules, but that needs looking at. Because that's not right for the competition. That affects the integrity of it, in my view.
But surely that means if you got to the reserve grand final and your first team had been knocked out of whatever, you could pick the first team for the reserve grand final, which
defeats the objectives of the reserve.
Yeah, I don't know. Without looking at the operational rules as to what they are, as to whether there's a limit in terms of the age of the players or the number of games they played in the first team or whatever. But there
I don't think you could just play in a final.
I think if it's like the women's game, you're allowed. So let's say if it was under 19s. When I came back from ACL, I could have played for the under 19s because you're allowed 2 or 3.
But I don't think you can play in a final unless you played a certain number of games.
I think that's just cup ties. That's just cup ties.
Right. Yeah, this is a league.
But then the reserves is
final, basically, isn't it? The reserves competition is a nonsense.
Yeah.
So, did you see Bevan French manhandling?
I did.
For want of a better word, the referee.
I did.
Worth 1 game or more?
I thought it was worth more.
Because, again, for those of us that were at other games and didn't see it live...
we were all the important
games. When I say... I don't... without going back through the history of what they've banned this year, but they have banned players to play for referee contact this year and in previous years. Without going back and looking at all those and analysing them and comparing one against the other, that was a deliberate act to touch the referee.
Was it
in my opinion,
slightly aggressive act?
Well... It wasn't accidental, and I've seen players charged.
It wasn't necessary, was it?
No,
then that's the difference.
And I think there have players being charged where they sort of push the referee from behind the referee's back to almost push them out of the way in order to defend something. And I kind of, in my own way, I kind of get that because in their head I think, get out of my way, I want to make a tackle. This is in response to a decision, and a decision he doesn't like or doesn't agree with. So for me, I was surprised that he's eligible for the grand final.
I think it just makes a joke of it, doesn't it?
But again, I'd want to go back and I'd want to go to ensure it's consistent. There may be other charges whether they could show you and say, well, hang on a minute, we charge that at grade B, fair enough. But on the face of it, when I saw it on Friday night, I thought Mary Hell would go off on social media because the chances are he will be banned for the grand final.
But consistency is bad. Because as we learnt last week from Warrington, apologies to the podcast.
Yes.
Because consistency is all well and good, unless you are the chairman of the Warrington Wolves, Stuart Middleton, who has called for a review of disciplinary procedures after star forward Paul Vaughan received a controversial suspension last week, a controversial suspension for something other people have been banned for this season.
Embarrassing. That's the second public statement he's made in the last 2 months, which I think's embarrassing. I wouldn't want to be associated with the club and my chairman to be saying comments like that. Look, he can disagree with it, but there is a long history now of players over a number of years being banned for making contact with players on the ground, laid prone on the ground, and that's not people. I've seen Kangaroo Court going on Twitter this weekend over Lachlan Lamb, I think, pulling a Wigan player. Completely different. I just think. We've already had a review 3-4 years ago which involved club chairman, so they're now calling the club chairman that were involved in that review, so it's just a nonsense, and all it does is deflect.
The fact is, he was charged grade E, which is it 4 to 6 is the tariff.
Yeah.
So he got 4. So they've recognised the fact that even Matauti has gone in and said, I was time wasting, I wasn't injured. But the fact is, you cannot pick up a player, so they've given him.
But he doesn't know that at the time,
No,
which is the purpose of the charge. That a player does
How
not
can you
know at that
complain about
moment.
that?
And as I've seen others compare, well, hang on a minute, Mossy Massot.
Yeah.
Look at that innocuous challenge, and we know the consequences of that. And appreciate that probably 99 times out of 100, it doesn't come to that. If not,
Yeah, but
more.
it's that one time, though, isn't it? You're right. It's that one
Absolutely.
time.
And players know whether they like it or not. That if they choose to do that, they run the risk. And it's much harder. People will say, "Well, why don't you charge Matautia?"
Yeah.
But you try and demonstrate. There's no way that if they charge Matautia, you'd come out and say, "Oh yeah, you're right."
So are we going to ban everyone for time wasting?
Yeah, it's very difficult for referees. Even when we go back a few years before we changed the rules around, stoppages and stuff on foul play and all that. You knew in your own mind that this player is probably milking this, but there's nothing I can do about it. And actually, for me to try and prove it is another thing. And not medically qualified.
Players are the buggers, aren't they? because you'll do anything to get an advantage. And
But that's what coaches
these innocent
what
men,
coaches tell you.
Yeah, but do you know what? Do you know what? Yeah, absolutely, you do. But you do something like Andrea Dobson was known for pushing the line, but as soon as the whistle was blown, she knew exactly where the line was. So things like line on or whatever. But as soon as you get one penalty, and then you either take one for the team and figure out where the lay of the law land. Do you know what I mean? You figure out where it's at.
You give away a 6 again on the first tackle in there, 10 metres.
Yeah, but ultimately, and I say it more so now, I think being out of the game, a decision's made, you can either cry about it and let it affect your game, or you take it because at the end of the day, that's what the referees are there for. And yeah, if you want to review it afterwards or whatever else, then do so down the right channels. But like we've seen, how many times have things been, not been overturned and have been charged more? But you can't come out when it's not. It's like, I refer it back to people sat like behind Twitter who commentate on people not playing very well. You're not playing, so you can commentate all you like about people playing, but you're not professional rugby players. It's similar to a referee. If you don't like the decision they make, go and be one. Go and do the job. We need them to run the game. If we didn't have them, people complain. If we do have them, people complain.
I mean, the other comment I would make on Stuart Middleton is that we had 2 coaches referred for investigation for bringing the game into disrepute. I would argue that's bringing the game into disrepute.
100%.
Why make it an open letter?
Yeah.
Have that discussion behind closed doors. That doesn't need to be an open letter.
And the other thing, you're not going to change the decision if you're going to go on an open letter.
So,
in terms of that game, for those of us that couldn't watch it, both teams, as far as I gather, had a try disallowed.
Yeah.
So why is the Oliver Gildart decision seem to be more important than the other, and to have determined the final league placings?
This is from a story by David Craven in the Hull Daily Mail. Gildart said, "It's a disgrace. It cost us a home semi-final. It's not good enough. Fair play to Wigan. They have been the best team all year, and they fully deserve the league leaders."
Is this former Wigan player Oliver Gildart?
But they shouldn't have won that. If we'd have scored and Benny potentially converts, the referee's not good enough. Quote. "I know it's a tough job, but how many times do you have to look at that to make a decision? He gave double movement, but he's right in front of me. I'm over the line. That's why I've run off celebrating. When they look at the replay, it's obvious our player runs at his inside shoulder and Bevan goes on the outside. It's just frustrating. As players, you work your nuts off to get a win, and I just feel really disappointed with how that went." So again, the referee has cost.
Why are players allowed to talk about it?
Because they get away with it. Because they get away with it all the time.
I know, but then I think everything. Look, I don't think, and I know journalism that's what you want. You want to find a story, but I think clubs all need to say, right, we'll do with it our way. Keep your mouth shut. There's a team to deal with stuff like that. If you're really that bothered about it, as a player, whether it was right or wrong decision, it just looks like sour grapes. And I'm not saying I agree or disagree with that. There was a lot to think about that one.
But again, if I put out a tweet saying, Gildart dropped a ball there,
it can't determine the game, and it can't determine finishing positions.
Leigh have beaten Hull KR over there this season quite significantly. Go over and do it again if you're that bothered. That sounds really easy that it was. I didn't mean it like that. But you put your energy into next game.
They play, 27, I've lost count. 27 games in a season. of which 80 minutes times 27. My maths is not good enough.
Maths teacher.
Calm
here.
down.
But there's lots of minutes and lots of games to go at. It doesn't come down to one moment
can't.
to sum up a season. And it's the same argument that I've used time and again around a single decision doesn't determine the outcome of a game, whether that be a referee's decision or a player's decision. For what it's worth, for me, the Wigan penalty for obstruction is absolutely correct in that the obstruction occurs on they come back through the space immediately adjacent to the block. So they use that space. The second one, in my view, is different, and my opinion should have been a try. I don't think it should have been referred to the video referee because the block is not adjacent to where the try is scored. They don't use that space that may be created by the contact on French. Now, in years gone by, we were checking all those, and they would have come back no try. But for me, there's sufficient evidence to overturn the live decision. But I think the danger that we used to discuss as referees was as soon as you put the square in the air on obstructions, you open a can of worms. And it's proven at Super League head coaches meetings where they can put on the same clip and it will split the room. And that's what you get. You get shades of grey. So we were always encouraged to try and make on-field decisions ourselves without reference to the video referee, and unless you're absolutely thought, hang on a minute, I've probably missed something here. I need to check it because I've just missed it. So for me, whilst they are both obstruction decisions, they are different, and I think they should have been a different outcome. As
a Leigh fan, says Tony, who I've never met. Gildart out of order. The fact we lost 52-10 to Hull KR is why we didn't finish fourth. Simple. And it's retribution for that tweet Leigh sent out the other week. That Wakefield let Hull KR score all those points because we were annoyed by the tweet. The tweet was rubbish, by the way.
But moving on from that, Adrian Lamb banned from talking to Sky.
Well, they're saying it was timing.
There's two stories.
Yeah. I know. Derek
I heard two stories.
Derek was saying there was a slot. He would have been available. You didn't want to use the slot. Sky is saying we run the game. When we want you, we want you. Is that Derek being a bit petulant?
Possibly.
Don't forget, you've got a hat from him.
No. It swings and roundabouts because I see Friday's game very differently. Having been part of them broadcasting all the games, which was a little bit new, we were getting interviews as and when we could, I had to wait to interview Willie Peters because there was no point doing that interview because we finished 3 minutes before the Leigh game finished. Even though the score was pretty much set, but there's no point. So we were like, can you wait there? But I know that you want to wait there so there was an element of that, and therefore that means that they had to wait for all of our interviews to come in before they could then go for the live interview. That's my side.
But isn't there
an
obligation for the live Sky game in the whatever the rules are?
Yeah.
The coach needs to be
then again, if that's not been, I don't know how clear that was made, so I don't know the rules of behind the side. I know that there's an obligation and stuff, etc., but
I suspect it will be to make themselves available.
Yeah.
And they'll say they made themselves available.
Yeah, and also there's then a fine line of you then need to get in the sheds and pick your team up essentially because you've got 5 days.
Yeah. And you've got sponsors.
until you tee back again. So, and there's only a limit between when the players go and sit down in the changing room when they want to then get changed and just get gone.
Brian County being mischievous then by saying
I didn't see it.
We've tried our best to get Adrian Lambert. We're being told it's been blocked by Derek
do you want to cause a bit of controversy if he's saying that? You could probably word it differently, but I actually don't know. All I'm saying is my two sides of that. I've been a player who's waiting on a coach's post-match talk. I've also experienced what Friday night was like from a broadcast point of view. None of us will ever know what the real is, but there's also a fine line between. I find it really difficult for a coach when you've just lost potentially what could be a home draw, because there is a bit of sour grapes and a bit of upset, isn't there? I won't want to speak after a game if I had lost.
Would you like a job on the MRP? Would you like to go on the match review panel? I don't know if it pays as well as Sky or Channel 4. I don't know if there's any free food involved. But.
No. Do you know what? I'm going to stay away from politics. Two things you don't talk about: politics and money. So I'll stick to my MasterChef.
James has been on Question of Sport. Would you go on Question of Sport?
Yes, I like a quiz.
Oh yeah, you're picked for this.
I know. I've seen that. I was a little bit jealous. I was very jealous.
Who would you like to go up against on the chase?
Any of them? It's easy, Breed. I'm joking. don't know. I just like a pub quiz. I love like that kind of stuff.
And pub food and pub quiz.
Yeah. Wigan are the league leaders, Shield winners, and deservedly so. Well done to Wigan. Apart from using loopholes this week, but
yeah, but don't take that away from the rest of the squad that have played all season. You know, they've done
it takes even less for me to take credit away from people than that.
I know, yeah, but I think sometimes we get so strung up, don't we, on that kind of stuff that actually there is another whole group of people behind that have earned that.
So it's going to be emotional at St Helens when you're there on Saturday because it's the last home game for James Roby.
Oh, you telling me you just nodding to me be emotional? Okay.
We got a little bit of card with
a little bit of mascara running at the end.
Oh, I'm going to ruin my makeup for it. Calm down. Right.
But how does everybody reckon these are going to play out now? Because it's pointless reviewing all the games. Certainly pointless reviewing Leeds and Castleford.
Are Leeds still the worst Leeds team ever? By the way, just as an aside.
All I would say is there are big issues at Castleford on the result of that. On the basis of that result.
You've answered a question about Leeds, talking about Castleford.
But
I think these two speak on a different language sometimes.
Leeds men in crisis. All the other Leeds teams are good, as we've discovered.
There was an element of youth there that was quite encouraging, whereas Cass had quite an experienced core.
The future's bright.
It sounds like having a clear out at Castleford, doesn't it?
Blake Austin's having new hair put in today. He did it live on Instagram. Blake Austin's hair.
Why do you watch that stuff?
I didn't watch it. John Davidson tweeted about it.
Why do people watch that stuff?
People watch people having the bloody...
Probably got a discount from the hair transplant company by putting it in the video.
Well, they've got a YouTube... Their family got a YouTube channel, haven't they? Their family have got a YouTube channel, so I think they record their life.
Right.
I think there's a family YouTube... I haven't watched it either. I've just heard that they... So I think... The YouTube is the way forward to get freebies, I tell you, and like TikTok and stuff. Yeah,
if we're on YouTube, aren't we?
We are. Yeah, I mean,
where's our freebies?
Magazine.
Look, you see,
no, that's not freebie.
Yeah.
No, I know, but I'm saying if you want to get sponsors,
we tried. I mean, actually, you could probably, go on proper telly. So,
Jim has picked time than me.
You got free hats. I'm just happy with hats and stuff.
You are still.
All this stuff. This is all bought from eBay and stuff. Apart from the flag,
that was a freebie.
Yeah, that's the only freebie on the set is a flag.
So where's the men's competition going from here?
Saints Wigan final, and everyone go.
I think the interesting game is Hull KR, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's a bit.
So. I think that's a foregone conclusion.
Do you think it is now?
Yeah.
I'm even contemplating going over to Craven Park on Friday to watch that.
No, I think Leigh are looking busted. Hardaker's now out for the season.
Okay.
Asiata
might not play again.
Have you got any of their dream team players available?
I think they've had a sensational campaign, but when you use virtually the same squad for all of your matches, all of your cup
which is why they've been so consistent all season, isn't it?
To come, yeah, but I think Hull KR are my dark horses for perhaps upsetting this apple cart a little bit.
They are Tony's as well. He's a Hull KR dark horse.
They've only got one player banned, Tom Amone, isn't it?
Who's been sensational for them this year.
I think you could be right, and Hull KR obviously got the home advantage, haven't they?
I just think that
going to Craven Park's a nightmare.
They've got everybody fit,
for the
everybody playing particularly well. I don't think they need to fear anything other than, let's say, how far we can.
I think
they're the
their
leads
first
of this
half
year.
performance, though, I think they got complacent on Friday, and that first half performance wasn't great. And you knew that they'd run away because Wakefield had a really depleted side out. So I knew, anyway, last 20 minutes, I thought, if nothing else.
Is that not psychologically hard, though, for a player?
Yeah.
Playing a team that's relegated?
There was nothing in that game at all, wasn't there?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
Knowing that you've got a major game the week after.
Yeah, and they did win by a lot. But
and had Leigh won, there's very little that they could have done at Wakefield that would have changed it.
I know it's a cliche when we're talking about playoff intensity, but it will be...
It'll be a great.
I
think it will be a great game, regardless.
I also think that the crowd at Hull KR will.
Have you seen the away changing rooms? So what they've
I've
done
seen
this
the press
season,
room at Hull KR.
So what they've done this season is the top half of the changing room is painted like a dark navy blue, so it's really dark and oppressive in there. So it looks a lot smaller than it actually is, which I think is a great cycle. You walk and you're like, oh. And the fans there are brilliant.
If they were to win, they go to Wigan. Last year, Wigan were superb at home, unbeaten, couldn't win their playoff game at home.
When Salford went there the other...
Leeds beat him last year. So Hull KR, I reckon, have got a route whereby, I mean, unless Warrington do something amazing, which
And obviously
again
they beat
we
them in
can
the
talk
semi-final,
about.
the Challenge Cup. So.
I just think it's open there for Hull KR if they're good enough to take it.
I'd like, either Hull KR or Leigh, just to make a bit of a stance. Obviously, if you think that's the way it's going to go, Hull KR, then put one of those two
Well, we
teams
don't
just to
know.
come and rock the apple cart a little bit would be.
Can Warrington beat St Helens
No.
with all that emotion around Roby and...
Next.
I don't think they can.
No, I don't think so.
So that's setting
I think their achievement is to have got to the playoffs after the debacle.
on their fingernails.
Yeah, how the season
So-
The
started.
achievement of winning 8 games in a row and then somehow just getting into the
But
playoffs.
then that would throw up a semi-final of Catalan against St Helens.
Yeah,
Now that's a game I cannot
Massive
call.
game.
That's great.
And they're already talking about, not only is it going to be a sellout, but when we were there for longer than we wanted to be last week, they were talking about was a home semi-final. And the fact that will be, even with the Rugby Union World Cup going on, that is going to be the biggest game in that club's history. They're talking about opening up the swimming pool end, which I didn't know you could do, to put crowds there.
It's a footpath basically,
Yeah.
Oh, is
with
it?
a fence. So
How can you do it?
I
They're
don't
going to put them
know.
on the roof.
And
But-
we just spoken about James Roby and Lou McCarthy-Scarborought's last games. Sankins, your mate
Yeah.
off the telly.
Yeah.
His last game.
I mean, the atmosphere. You were there last year, weren't you? The atmosphere for that playoff game,
Unbelievable
Catalan
hostile.
Leigh, was just unbelievable.
So Hull KR fans as a whole are great, but if a set of fans know how to put on a party, it's the French.
The Catalonian national anthem was sung with as much gusto as I've ever heard last week for
yeah.
what was a relatively meaningless game in terms of they were already assured of winning that and finishing somewhere around the top 3. But they put flags out for everybody. They were all waving their Sangeo flags. It was ridiculously intimidating.
They're the same flags that were being thrown at me as I
Yes,
left.
sharp in the edge, using them as darts.
I mean that's going to be a
But
huge game.
if
because I
that's
can't
the
see
way
them
it turns
winning.
out, and we can preview that.
If you're
when we
St
know.
Helens, then so you've made it through. St Helens, you're going out. Do you then go for a few more extra days this time, rather than just going the day trip that they normally do, or do you change your build up, or do you just keep exactly what you'd normally do?
I don't know.
They've tried it different ways, I think, at St Helens, and they've had mixed results.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's a set way that guarantees you an outcome, is there?
I think it depends where you stay.
I think with it being a grand final week, potentially you'd go probably stay the night before and
Yeah.
you come home straight after the game.
You have to come home straight away.
Yeah,
You've
you just-
literally got. Mind you, that's going to be the Friday night game, isn't it?
Yeah,
So
it definitely is. Yeah,
they've got the extra day. But if it does shape up that way, what a game that is going to be.
Well done to Leeds, though, for finishing the season with a points difference of +1. Well done to Leeds on that. That's an achievement. As is York finishing the season on a points difference of 0.
Fantastic.
Brilliant.
You play all that season to end up finished on 0.
Do we need to talk about any more Super League things? Because
No, because I just
because we don't
think
need to talk
it's
about Huddersfield.
shaping up to be. The one thing we do need to probably talk about is the press release this week that the attendance figures have been really encouraging.
even though the game's gone.
Game's
Not going
gone,
anymore.
More people are
Rubbish.
watching it.
Yeah.
More people are watching it on telly.
Well, it's
We're-
valid for 20 years. 20 years.
Yeah.
according to
15,000 at Leeds versus Cass. For
ridiculous.
2 rubbish teams.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Unbelievable.
Oh, you say well done for marketing team at Leeds Rhinos.
Yes, well, exactly. As I've always said on this programme, Leeds, you were talking about York and the way they're doing things with the men and the women and everything. Leeds are the benchmark
And
for
do you know
everything else.
what I didn't mention is York's buffet is out of this world. It's the most spectacular buffet I think I've ever, and a free gym bar.
The pizzas at the World Cup.
Well
are
done,
nice,
clean good child.
but,
You get mussels and scallops and prawns.
Wow.
Yeah.
yeah, not in the press room, you don't.
But I don't get in the press room.
Well, when we're there for the grand final in
The
weekend
RFL taken over then.
don't get sandwiches.
Crusty bread.
I mean, what better than the
Anyway, I
better than the
digress.
women's grand finals in Wigan and Leeds, which we went to, which we got nothing. I think Pete Smith nicked a biscuit from the press room. It wasn't even a press room, was it?
I don't remember.
You were there. I saw you.
Yes, I had also just done my ACL reconstructed. So
avoided looking at you on that
I think Adam
occasion.
Cuthbertson and I, the final whistle went, and we were already 2 bottles of beer deep.
Professionalism. Lou McCarthy Scarsbuck saying he's got at least 2 games left. Totally dismiss Warrington, says Kev, who's a Warrington fan. If that doesn't fire us up, there's no hope. Kev, there's no hope with that. this is a club.
Preach it to him gently.
I mean, Kev's been on my side as well with relegation, but this is a club who've moaned about a player being banned for something other players have been banned.
Hey, but don't worry, they've got a new coach. It's fine.
Yeah, Sam, he's coming. And Martin Gleeson.
Martin Gleeson,
and everyone else. And we're signing, Wakefield signing half of the Warrington squad, it seems, next year. So that's good, isn't it? In the Championship.
And getting rid of one ex-Warrington player.
Yeah. Well, thank goodness for that.
Doncaster.
Why was he not in the green team? Doncaster, you were there. You were at the
did the tour of South
whatever it's called these days, the Eco Arena.
Warrior. Yeah. Eco Power Stadium. One of the tensest games I've been at for a while. You could tell what was at stake, and clearly Doncaster, having lost the previous 2 grand finals, albeit away from home, there was just huge relief when the final whistle went. They defended magnificently. But the great thing, again, 2,500 people for in a League One game. I know that if you're going to get a crowd for a grand final, aren't you? But great atmosphere. Really pleased for Carl Hall.
I think he's such a nice bloke. That doesn't mean anything, but I just think as far as rugby league blokes go, what a nice guy.
Oh, trust me, the problem with rugby league is too many gits get celebrated. That's the problem for me.
They managed
the original Flying Pig, who had his nickname stolen.
They managed to get 20 minutes out of Albert Vete, which is amazing this season. Fanua and Faraimo were obviously there for their experience, and that paid. But it was really tense, but just amazingly pleased for them. And
they get promoted from a league which has lost a team. So what's going to happen to League One and the Championship? What's going to happen? Because London Scholars have gone now. They've gone because they've scored less points than Wakefield. They did score less points than Wakefield in the end. So that's them out of the division. Other than them, it's been a competitive-ish league this season, League One. You can't say Midlands and Cornwall were making up the numbers, but what happens to an 8-team division which was cut down from 10 at the start of this year?
Logic would say that the Championship will be increased and possibly split into 2 conferences, and there won't be League One, which will undermine the excitement of promotion. But I don't know how they're going to do it otherwise.
It'll be a 9-team competition, won't it?
Yeah.
Oh, the 9?
Yeah, so it'll be on an odd number.
Which you can't run.
And it doesn't help, does it?
There isn't anybody that is clamouring to be in there, I don't think.
They only play 18 games as it is.
Which everybody's saying is too few.
Yeah, so there has to be some reorganisation.
What
that is, I don't know.
I don't know.
People say stick some of the Super League reserve teams in a League One competition. I think we've done that before, haven't we?
I don't think that's a bad idea.
But what do you do with promotion and relegation?
Yeah.
Well, it's like
if they win, they don't go up.
It's like
we don't have that next.
Of
course.
It'd be like in Spain where Barca B can't get promoted from.
But you can imagine, couldn't you, if in that division one of the fixtures was Hunslet against
Wigan,
a Leeds team.
With Bevan French and Kid.
Can you imagine, right, as a young kid in reserve just rocking up and Bevan French is there, you're like, great.
Because reserves isn't working in its current form, as we saw with Leigh pulling out halfway through the season. So, but
that was League One, and it was a great finale. And full credit to North Wales Crusaders, who came from absolutely nowhere and couldn't have defended much better against Doncaster, but just didn't have quite the spark in attack.
The Championship, the best league in rugby league.
It's been amazing.
Since Friday.
And if we go up next year, then it's rubbish again. Featherstone Rovers lifted the league leader shield after beating Widnes at home. Toulouse, Bradford, Sheffield, London, York make up the other playoff spots. York getting through after their win on Sunday. They played Sunday, didn't they, against Barrow? Did they? I assume, because the games were all staggered, which was lovely, wasn't it? Whitehaven managed to stay up despite not playing on Sunday. Well done to them. But London beating Keighley means Keighley are in League One next year, along with Newcastle, who were already down. Whitehaven staying up by, to quote your man off the cricket, the barest of margins. Well, not quite the barest, because it was 3 points rather than 1. But
it's a phenomenal win for Swinton. Unexpected. The thing about the Keighley story, which is just bizarre, is at half time they were winning 10-0.
Oh,
and
really?
they've gone down virtually because of the tries they conceded in the second half. So I think it's only about 6 points that separates them and relegation.
Well, 3 points. Yeah, they needed one try basically.
So it's one try at the end.
Cost them.
I mean, again, talking of the finest of margins, getting relegated because of one try in the second.
It must be
half.
heartbreaking. I think what I found difficult on social media last night was the comments.
What Keithley Shard?
Basically, people glad that a certain club have gone down. I mean, I don't think that doesn't think about it.
It's because of their woke owners, James. You go back and tell them that being woke has seen them being relegated. That's what the internet has told them.
I don't know what the comments would have been like for any other club. They'd probably been the same, but I don't know.
I just think they gave themselves a stick to be beaten with by some of the things that they said when they were nowhere near that position of potential relegation, by deciding to change the coach for whatever reason, whether it's personalities, it hasn't turned out well for them. They've looked to have been two very poor decisions on the surface. It obviously goes a little bit deeper than that. But I cannot imagine what it must have felt like at half time. You're 10-0 up, you're looking at the other scores, you're going, we're going to be safe, we're all right. And then you go, oh, what the hell are Swinton doing? And oh my goodness, we've just conceded another try, we're going to go down.
But actually they were facing at London, weren't they, their old coach?
Yeah.
That we got rid of mid-season.
So it has come back and bitten them on the proverbial bottom. But what a division. I was lucky enough to be at Sheffield last night. Again, another fantastic game, settled with the last kick of the game. Great little facility that Sheffield have got there with some fantastic plans to expand on it. I don't know if have you been to the OLP yet?
No.
In its current guise?
I've been, but small is the word.
It was full though last night. It was a great atmosphere.
That's what I mean. It's small.
Yeah. But they are going to develop.
I mean, what does that? What points do they get for that in the IMG ratings? Look, it's a modern facility, but it's
toilets are good.
That's not a super elite facility if they have ambition. And I'm not suggesting they do necessarily have ambition to go up, but there needs to be some investment.
I think the plans that they've got develop the other side, so it is going to be a bespoke facility. But again, from where they were to having that, I was pleasantly surprised, and that was before meeting Mark Addy.
It's not as bad as the Sheffield Steelers though, who have been kicked out of their arena later in the season for Take That. I mean, how many IMG points would you get knocked off for Take That kicking?
I think you get them. I think you get more points put on.
Yeah, but it's Take That. There are not even 5 of them anymore. It's like the rubbish ones.
Name them.
The rubbish ones being Gary Barlow.
Yeah. I mean, I know he wrote all the songs of it, but he's Oh, we don't talk about Paul.
Name them.
What? Robbie Williams, he's good.
Yeah, you got 2.
Yeah. Well, do you want me to name all of Take That?
There's only 5 of them.
Jason Orange, Mark Owen, and his great solo career, and the other one, Howard Donald.
Well done.
I was a teenager in the 90s. I was laughing.
I think somebody's bought their tickets for Sheffield Steelers.
Never forget, it's a great track. Don't get me wrong.
Not.
No, it's like
it's not.
Yeah, but it's
not even a normal. It's not even a proper Take That song. So
yeah, but it's
case closed.
It's
Moving on anyway.
Yeah.
How did we get into that?
Sheffield Eagles.
Oh right,
and their BG.
Yeah,
so they've now got London at home.
Yes, and Bradford versus York, which is the game
York
on TV.
Got a good
Bradford York,
Bradford.
I think. Yeah.
Two would be interesting games. I was trying to rack my brain whether London beat Sheffield this year at Sheffield. I can't remember. But
it'd be a different London team because now we've got Dean Farray and Corey Norman. They look like they could do something.
Dennis is on. The Broncos were awful in the first half, but came out in the second, and Keithley had no answer. There you go.
But what a fantastic division!
Best league in the world.
Well, I won't go that far, but
Not yet.
Without a TV deal or anything for. Let's take the
but thoroughly enjoyable.
Just stream
Yeah,
games.
maybe
and
you'll
Bradford
get
finished
really
third, which is their highest since
highest finish ever because they only existed in 2019 or whatever it was. Yeah, exactly.
So do they pose a threat? Do we reckon?
But interestingly, they got rid of their coach mid-season as well. Look at the effect that had.
They've had a good run so recently, though, haven't they?
But I think they've recruited really well. Looking at some of the players that weren't there at the start of the season that were making a real difference yesterday.
And I suppose if you're Keithley, they lost Luke Gale, didn't they?
Yeah.
Albeit I don't know what happened with their captain who left the club that helped them get promoted the year before.
Jack Hanson.
Jack Miller, is it?
Jack Miller.
Jack Miller, yeah.
Didn't Chisholm go as well? So that was
Yeah, he
Yeah.
went to Featherstone. So they did lose some players as opposed to necessarily bringing players in.
Mm-hmm.
So we're saying all the pressure's on Fev now because they finished 12 points clear.
Not all the pressure because they're the best team in the division, but they're going to have a game at home against whoever they play. Will fancy their chances. You know, if it was Sheffield, they wouldn't be fearsome of going to Featherstone. They won some big games against Featherstone.
I think it's difficult for any of the teams going to Toulouse to try and get a result.
Well, that looks like it could be Toulouse Bradford, which would be again a massive game. All of rugby league focus is going to be in France.
It's exciting.
It's going to be a great
exciting.
end to the season.
It's great because obviously I've got no dog in the fight anymore in any competition. Phil's so excited because he's got like the...
You're secretly Joanna's women's fan.
Well, yeah, but keep that quiet. I can't say that. Can't.
Don't out him.
I mean, am I going to follow in Super League now next year? Because I ain't got a team now. They've gone.
You don't have a team on this one.
That's a bit harsh, isn't it? But London beat Sheffield 26-18. Thanks, Dennis. There you go. At the Olympic Legacy Park. And what a great legacy that was of the Olympics to knock down the stadium to build a little one.
Well, there is an arena at the side of it, which they play basketball, and I think they are going to be playing some wheelchair rugby league in there, and that's quite an impressive facility.
That's where the
English Institute of Sport.
Yeah.
It's just round the corner, so it's not
Like
bad.
Sheffield and all that.
It's going to be all right.
So I've got to go to The Edge on
Saturday evening.
Saturday. Yeah, but Rob Hawkins is our friend as well, so I'm neutral in that one. So I can just sit back and enjoy rugby
for
league,
what it is.
which of course, as we know, is dying because everyone keeps telling me it's rubbish these days. It's all soft. Go tell the wheelchair players now. Bashing.
I think I'd rather be rugby league than rugby union in Australia at the moment.
I would love to be an agent in the NRL because all my players are going to be getting big deals because Eddie Jones is going to want to buy them, whether they're good or not.
he's not. He's going to Japan anyway, so don't bother.
It's hilarious, isn't it? It's hilarious. Up the wires, but they didn't do it. Phil, they didn't do it.
Well,
You'll be happy with that.
I'm happy with that. I'm delighted to see Brisbane back in the grand final. That is going to be one hell of a game as well. If you're not doing anything, was it 9:30 Sunday morning?
They got
5:55.
$5.55.
Tina Turner first, then
$5.55 for the women's grand final before.
watch Georgia Roach take on Georgina Hale.
Just watch Georgia Roach.
Who's going to
Have
win
your
that?
breakfast. Watch the Tina Turner tribute. Brisbane against Penrith. What more could you want?
Who's going to do our grand final entertainment? No, yeah.
Take that.
Yeah, the other take.
Lisa Scott Lee's doing a comeback. Should we get her on?
Wow, that is a blast.
Half of Eternal.
Who did the World Cup final?
No, just Kevin Sinfield. Oh, you said Heather Small.
Heather Small. That's the scariest thing I ever did. I went to the bathroom halfway through and all I heard was this. And I was like, what's going on? And it was her. That was how she warmed up. I was like, what is going on? But
You must have had the celebrity bathroom.
Anything else?
Did you mention the Academy final?
No, we haven't. No,
The
I
debacle.
mean that's a great.
oh
One extra substitution is an error. 4 extra is
How do you make
something
12?
else.
Is
Well,
that-
as far as I understand, there was no reserve referee appointed, so it would be down to the clubs
club,
to self-police.
yeah.
But is it my understanding that in a regular game it's the clubs that they're supposed to
Yeah, because
regulate
there's
themselves?
there's
Not in a
insufficient
sense,
officials
'cause you-
to appoint
you've got
a
no
reserve
things to do,
official
yeah.
on all games, so therefore it's up to the clubs to self-police. Now, one would imagine you don't just rock up at a semi-final and make that mistake. I would imagine that mistake's happened before now, and you do wonder why is it not being raised? And is that because other clubs have done it? And did Warrington not notice that they'd made 12 changes on that day? Or did Warrington only complain when they lost the game and then thought, I don't know.
Well, I mean,
But that's if you've not had a reserve, surely
But
you've
I'm
been
presuming
testing the
Warrington
system.
didn't break the rules, otherwise why would they then go into playing to the final?
remember when Wakefield played Castleford in the Challenge Cup in which year did you win it? 2018, 19, 2019,
18, 19. That was a real arrogant thing. Sorry.
no, but it's funny because it calls back to something else which was off air. 2019, when I turned up at the final late, Wakefield played
Bolton.
Castleford in the semi-final, lost 100-0, but Castleford played an ineligible player, which wasn't spotted until about 2 or 3 days later.
Oh yes.
But Wakefield thought, we can't we can't really,
Much like this weekend in one of the semi-finals, there was a quite obvious bite from one player to another. They did it, automatically apologised. Then we said, should we show it? And I said, no. Nothing's been spotted. If the player's complained, because I'm assuming that
it's not on the MRP because it's not.
No, but I'm saying I'm assuming if we had shown it and it being picked up, then it would have been an issue.
Yeah, it would.
But it was like a bite, then a realisation, then a sorry, and then I said, please don't show it.
There you have the influence of a broadcast.
I can see what's going on. Hang on a minute.
Sometimes
it wouldn't have changed the outcome of that game anyway. So
Dave says nothing's changed at all. It's been 8 interchanges for the past 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. How do you get to 12 unless it's a wheelchair game? I presume they must have realised it wasn't a wheelchair.
But I don't know how.
So just pitched up.
I don't know how they don't. Warrington, the opposition, don't realise during the game that hang on, suddenly you've made. I mean, maybe they'd obviously focus on what they're doing. They didn't realise it was only afterwards that they realised. But I can't imagine it's a one-off. And the RFL's press release was scant in detail to say the least, which you then wonder what's gone on behind the scenes
throughout the season.
Yeah.
But congratulations to St Helens on winning the game.
And well done to Warrington for making a game of it, because was it fairly close in the end of
22-6. But I think it was for most of the couple of late trials.
I'm mixing the score up with somewhere else. So. But well done for them taking it on at short notice. It's going to be an all in Ibiza or wherever the youth go. Danika, you're young.
Am I?
You're the youngest on the programme.
I do feel it. I don't know where they go. Ibiza, yeah. We'll just go with that. It sounds great.
Oh, it's a Mad Monday, isn't it? Is that still a thing?
Yeah.
I don't think it's on a Monday anymore, though, is it?
No.
Was it not? I don't know.
I mean,
Wakefield's may have been as well in bloody July or something.
I think Wakefield's was the week before and half your team didn't turn up on Friday. No thanks, don't fancy playing today.
I mean, there was a player who did that a few years ago at Wakefield who didn't want to play, but that's one of those, it's amazing the amount of things that you know, but you can't say them because you know they're true.
So you know what he's going to do? He's going to say, I know things that I can't say on a podcast that people are going to go.
No, because the problem is that you know things that you can't say because you can't corroborate the fact that they're true, even though that you know they're true because the people you've told them. Who've told you trust.
That's probably the most annoying thing you can say.
I know, but the good news for the audience is it's a player you wouldn't care about anyway because they're a crap. But there you go.
So
and I can say that as a
non-player. You might as well say her then.
Well, no, I can't. That's the problem. Is because it can.
So what's okay? Change the subject then.
Well, I think is that it? Are we done? Yeah,
I think we're done.
We need to eat caramel wafers. I've got a favour to ask you, and so when you're going to be on Celebrity MasterChef with your fish tacos?
I don't know when somebody wants to get me on it. I don't want to go on MasterChef because I think I'm a good
agent yet?
No.
Yeah,
can someone so you're at Saints on
Saturday.
If someone can get a sign on telly saying
No. I've just said I don't want to go on MasterChef.
I didn't know the same fish taco.
I don't think now
I don't
that
want
you
to
need
go on
to turn
MasterChef.
up for everybody on that team with a fish taco.
Yeah.
No, because it needs to be fresh. I don't want to go on MasterChef because I think I'm a good chef, and it only bruised my ego going somewhere to prove that I'm not one. In my little, I love prepare. Like the longer it takes me to prep a meal, the happier I am. So I don't want to be rushed either.
Warrington are still in training because they're off to Australia in 2 weeks. Good luck in Australia, Dave.
Oh.
Yeah, Warrington Academy. Yes, they are going on a tour.
So there you go. So yeah, that's it. James, thanks for coming.
A guest appearance. Although I won't be here for the next couple of weeks. So
are you coming back next week? Or have you got some restaurant opening or something?
I don't even know what I'm doing after this weekend right now. I've got this week to get through.
So are you back for the grand final?
No, well, I'm back for the grand final. Yeah, I'm going away to South Africa this week
nice.
for our belated honeymoon safari.
Nice.
So yeah, looking forward to that. But will be back for the grand final.
To preview in the grand final.
Oh no, I won't preview the grand final. We're back on that Monday. I'm back for the actual grand final.
Right. So you'll be able to come on and talk to us about
what.
Don't bother trying to get press seats for the grand final because the Old Trafford press box is crap.
You're just so negative.
But it is.
You need a hug.
No, there's no
from
room.
somebody.
There's no room there. I know
It's fine for me.
I know. Yeah. I know.
I'll buy him some new dummies and some new toys by next week. Don't worry.
Food's good at Old Trafford.
can't wait for the lasagna again.
Yeah.
Well, on that bombshell, apologies to everyone who I've not been able to tell you the secret things in rugby league, but they're all rubbish anyway. But we'll be back next week with who knows who behind this desk, and see you next week. Depressed. I don't know. In these podcasts, it's terrible, isn't it?